Greetings from Mahalik Outdoors. What a, I'd love to say beautiful day, but what a smoky day. Look at the haze. This would be the wildfire smoke, apparently from Canada, coming from the north and kind of west. And you can definitely see it. I mean, without question. There's the sun. See if I can even find it. Well, there it is, yeah. It definitely has a haze to it. So this morning, figure this is about 6:30 in the evening, noonish. You could smell the smoke, like you could smell like campfires. So it is a great day to be a fly and a deer fly. That's what I can tell you because they are in strong numbers. So if you see me swatting things, they're in full force right now. I am standing in the first plot that I planted this year. This is my corn plot. This is about 3 acres in size, 3.2. It is Renk 771. This is a silage corn. It looks like it's in about V6 of its growth stage. It's approaching a solid 6 feet in the better spots. Now, when you get closer to the wood line, obviously with the roots and the competition of the trees, it's not quite as tall, but we need some rain. That much I can tell you. But I have this located in, well, that line right there behind me is the center of the property. So this is my late season food source when everything else is wiped out. Obviously, when the farmers plant and harvest, that's a food and a bedding source that the deer no longer have. So they have it here though. And this corn was planted the first week of June, 2 soil test recommendations. And I had a couple goals this year. This was in soybeans last year, and there was a tremendous amount of weed pressure. My herbicide program, which really it's kind of nice because it ran out, but at the same time, you don't want it to run out too fast. So I ended up with a lot of grass. I think I have resolved that at the moment. We will find out, I guess, in the spring. And there was quite a bit of clover. So the turkeys were in here this spring, and the deer were back in here. So it's not a horrible thing when your herbicides run out. I really don't want my deer eating herbicides. But this field is done through what I would call conventional agriculture. So all TMAC agro fertilizer products, a 330012, which is your nitrogen with some sulfur and coated in something called Excellus Max. So my goal was to not come in and apply nitrogen when the corn is 10 to 20 inches tall. I'm tired of running over corn. My goal was also to not spray glyphosate. Again, for a few reasons. One is I don't want it in here if I can. Your goal is to not spray. In integrated pest management, you want to use the least toxic means possible. This is something we cover pretty heavily in school, and you use the pyramid approach. So your goal is to stay down at the bottom of the pyramid with the green level and use your least toxic mode of action. So I'm trying to avoid chemicals, but at the same time, if I do use them, use chemicals that are have a caution signal word and residual, but at the same time that will not be in the plant when the deer are eating them. So nobody wants to eat chemicals, but without them, it does make it difficult. Now there's other methods you can do, and I'll show you in some other videos where I do some no-till, but once you start going no-till, you are heavily dependent on chemical usage and or a cover crop, but you still are going to need to terminate your cover crop or roll or crimp it. But that's another video. But one of the things you will notice is I have left some pretty big aisleways through the corn. And so not only is it food, this is a silage corn, 108-day silage corn. Not only is it food, it's cover. They will get in here and stand. So sometimes corn is a blessing and sometimes it's a curse. It just depends on where you are. But I've left intentionally some pretty big rows, and I will simply take the tractor and move it over so that I have a nice pathway through here. Good weed control at the moment, looks pretty strong. I may come through here and spot spray in places, but when you're setting up your food plots, think everything backwards. It's very similar to when I'm teaching in school. I work everything backwards. Where do I need to get and how am I going to get there? So what is your end result? What is the lesson's objective? And so my objective here, my goal for this plot is center of the property, food and bed. I want to pull them from the outside in. I had a customer the other day, and when we were discussing some of this, he's like, "You are different than many that I listen to online." And I'm like, well, that's just the way this property lays. I would rather have them come to the center of the property, deer fly, when the sun starts to set. I don't want them coming to the center. And that way, if I have a potential shot, then they have to run away, and hopefully they don't run far. That's another video that's coming up. I'm going to go through some broadheads here in time, but corn is a tremendous attraction. If it's not number one, it's tied for number one. And in soon to be videos, I'm going to show you what I feel number one is, or at least I have a couple of number ones. There's just, I know it doesn't make sense, but it's a true statement. But when the corn is soft and tender, the ears, they have eaten this corn before, the leaves, but I want soft corn kernels. I don't want corn to dry down. Our farmers want it to dry down so they can harvest it. I don't. My combines have 4 feet, 4 hooves, and I want them to come in and nibble on the ends. Now, I want my corn to stay soft as long as I can keep it without getting moldy. And typically this particular variety does that. So a good disease package on it. Tremendous leaves. If you look at the leaves, I've uploaded this before. These leaves they're just enormous, just for reference. So this leaf right here, that's 4 inches wide. It is incredible. The corn, the leaves on the Renk corn it's tremendous. So great height. The corn last year was about 12 feet tall. Again, we're about 6 weeks into this, so this looks real good. My yield was tremendous last year. I want to say you can walk up and down a row and count stalks, and once you have your corn, you can count the rows around the cob. You can count kernels, and that'll give you a potential yield. And I think I was up around 240 bushels, which is way too much actually for what I need for deer. So I've cut back on my fertility program. Corn is typically, your bushel yield is equivalent to your nitrogen input. And if you do a Penn State soil test, typically, just a standard test is 150 bushel yield. And if you don't give a true recommendation, like 230 or something, that's about the amount of nitrogen they recommend. And then you kind of go from there, and you can look at other numbers like your CEC and so forth. But that does get pretty technical. But this corn, a lot of sulfur applied, a lot of P, a lot of K. All of that was covered in either Duomax or another product called Free Up. So I'm trying to make sure my molecules of fertilizer do not get locked up in the soil, and they stay readily available for the plant. And that's one of the things that Duomax does. So another video, I'll talk about how I have triple 19 coated in Duo, and we'll talk more about Duomax. But I am ultimately looking for, the healthiest plant I can produce with the most nutrition. And every time a deer takes a nibble, they get what they need. So food plotting / agriculture and farming at its finest. This is another one of those places where I have bedding kind of set back in off just depending on when things run out. There's a lot of depends in all of this. But my son Seth shot his buck last year in Renk corn. It is a tremendous, just a tremendous corn. A great disease package, great ear placement for the deer when there's snow on the ground, and they like it. And it stays soft, and that's what I need. It is a silage corn. So, words of wisdom. Corn's expensive to grow. Corn is expensive by the bag. Corn is expensive to fertilize. And I like tillage with my corn. I'm going to show you corn that was no-tilled, but I do like tillage with my corn. And this is multi-purpose. This is bedding and food. They will get in here and stand. And typically I find some sheds in here. Luckily I haven't found one in the tire yet, which is a blessing. But make your paths. Give them a place to stand. They will get in here and they'll feel comfortable and they won't want to leave. But that strip in the middle is a kind of a grass river, runs down through over here. It'll be difficult to see, but there's a grass river that runs through there. And so I try to keep a nice buffer strip along. There's some chemicals you have to keep a certain distance of a buffer strip. The chemicals I'm using do not. So, but I still am mindful of, oh yeah, the deer flies and flies are terrible today. I still keep a buffer strip. We don't want anything in our water. That is just the way it is. We don't want it in our water. So, words of wisdom, think backwards. What is your target? What is your ultimate goal? What is that plot designed for? Work your problem backwards. And this is usually, by the time everything is, remember, in about 6 months, 5 months, we'll have snow on the ground. So work it backwards. You got to have something for them to eat. And one of the things I can tell you are the hickory nuts are starting to drop. So, if they're not coming into your plots like they were, there's a reason for that. There's plenty to eat. And this is for, oh yeah. And this is for later. And they know what it is. So you don't want them to eat all this, but at the same time, they know what to do with corn. So they live here too, just like we do. So words of wisdom, work your food plot backwards. And if you have any questions on raising a nice corn crop, reach out. Kevin, Mahalik Outdoors.